the thunder right now, even though it just started. I don't know if they've tipped off yet because my score tracker isn't on, but they're playing right now. So we're gonna try to hurry up and get through this. Hey, um, I want to follow up on where we were Sunday in Psalm 119. So I'm using the Holman Christian Standard Bible. Picking up in verse 17 where the lesson ended up, we're going to pick up from there. It says, "Deal generously with your servant so that I might live, then I will keep your word. Open my eyes so that I may contemplate wonderful things from your instruction. I am a stranger on earth. Do not hide your commands from me. I am continually overcome with longing for your judgments. You rebuke the proud, the ones under a curse, who wander from your commands. Take insult and contempt away from me, for I have kept your decrees. Though princes sit together speaking against me, your servant will think about your statutes. Your decrees are my delight and my counselors. My life is down in the dust. Give me life through your word. I told you about my life, and you listened to me. Teach me your statutes. Help me understand the meaning of your precepts so that I can meditate on your wonders. I am weary from grief. Strengthen me through your word. Keep me from the way of deceit and graciously give me your instruction. I have chosen the way of truth. I have set your ordinances before me. I cling to your decrees. Lord, do not put me to shame. I pursue the way of your commands, for you broaden my understanding." And the next two three sections kind of repeat the same thing. But the main point here, so we learned in Sunday school, the first part of this was what it means to live out what the psalmist is trying to seek is God. And to do that, he has to be obedient to his commands. He has to be obedient to his instruction. And remember our example or illustration Sunday was an instruction manual. Our vehicles come with one. Lego sets come with one, right? They come with instructions on how to build things. Most any device will come with some type of operation manual or guide or something to show you briefly. Maybe it's not a thorough understanding of it, but it'll show you briefly on what you're supposed to be doing with it. The thing I can think of is when you buy like little wall plugs for your devices. You know how it's supposed to work, right? You just stick it in the wall, but maybe you don't know how to flip out the prongs right, or maybe it comes with some additional features. I bought these battery pack plugs for my kids. It was like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer than that. And they're good little battery packs, but you have to use them like a battery. You have to charge it, right? You can't just plug it in there and expect it to go. And I remember one of them thought they were just a plug. They thought that's all it was just a big plug. And I was like, no, it's a battery pack as well. You stick your device on there and it'll charge it. But they didn't know that because they didn't look at the instruction manual. I didn't give them the instruction manual, but they didn't try to seek it out. That's what the psalmist is saying. You have to seek God. And that's what we went over in Sunday school. Furthermore, to seek him though, we see here beginning in verse 21, it says, "You rebuke the proud, the ones under a curse, who wander from your commands." And then he tells them again, it's a covenant promise that he's made with us, with his people. You do something, I will do something for you, right? You do something for me, I will do something for you. You worship me, I will give you everlasting life. That's the only thing that you have to do is recognize him as God, turn over your life to him, and know that he will take care of you. And in return, he will take care of you. That's what he's promised. And so when he recognized that those that turn away from him don't fall within his glory, basically, he then starts trying to let him know that he wants him to help him. And so the instruction manual, when we're thinking about it, it's good, easy to read, all the type of stuff. As you become more advanced, especially we have a lot of kids here, and for maybe younger, I don't want to say immature, but the ones who haven't really had a career. We've had jobs, but maybe we don't have a career yet. As you get higher into those, as you develop into a career or a field that you want to study, right? That's why you go to college, is to be able to understand the bigger concepts. If you want to, my son wants to pursue engineering, and I didn't really know what that. I've heard of the word, and I know that it's like building things and learning how to put things together and all that, but I didn't really understand what it meant to be an engineer. And so I was looking at the stuff you have to take for college courses and all that type of stuff, and it's a lot of math. And I was thinking about it when I looked at the list of stuff that he's going to have to do, and I'm like, I did all that. So you're saying I could be an engineer? Well, and that was my response. I'm just laughing. I was like, man, I took all that stuff. I was like, man, I'm in the wrong field and all that type of stuff. But I was not pursuing a career in building things or all that type of stuff that what they do, right? There's so many fields within the field of engineering. There's civil engineering, where you're basically like you go and you help plan cities or municipalities, maybe even smaller than that, subdivisions and things, right? Planning how water flows from whatever water source they have, how to get electricity there. There's structural engineering if you're into building buildings, right? If you want to do architecture. One of my good buddies, he's a mechanical engineer, I think is what he said, and basically he helps get the framework for when you do build a building, how to get the water into the building, into the restrooms, how to make sure the electrical flows right, make sure they have plugs and all. So when they give them a set of design specs, right, there's a team of engineers to make sure that everything is taken care of, because when they go and build that building, they're not going to be able to make a whole lot of modifications afterwards. That's what renovation is for. And then there's a whole nother field of engineering for that. I can't remember what the professional term called, but it's just renovations. That how to remodel something, how to change something. What the psalmist is recognizing here is he wants to develop more, and that's what he's seeking. He understands that there's some ways out there that are not good, but he wants to be able to make sure that he doesn't fall in those bad ways. And so in 22 he says, "Take insult and contempt away from me, for I have kept your decrees. Though princes set together speaking against me, your servant will think about your statutes." He goes on and he talks about what he has already accomplished, or the lack of accomplishments. In 25 he says, "My life is down in the dust. Give me life through your word. I have told you about my life, and you listen to me. Teach me your statutes." Again, he's pleading with him. He's trying to fulfill the covenant promise by relying on him, right? He's trying to seek him and trying to understand his ways. Because those ways are, when I think it's Isaiah, it says his thinking, talking about God, talking about our Creator, is higher than our thinking. So it's a tough road to follow. It's a tough example to follow. But if we keep continually asking him, he's going to be able to break it down and let us understand. It says, "I am weary from grief. Strengthen me through your word. Keep me from the way of deceit, and graciously give me your instruction. I have chosen the way of truth. I have chosen to follow you. I have set your ordinances before me." One of the things as a church, as a group of followers and fellow believers, right? We have to sometimes enact policy. Now, policy isn't necessarily something the way we believe and constitutes those types of deals. It lets us know how we run church. It lets us know how we are going to function as a beacon of light here in the community or even in the state, a broader sense. And some of those policies are simple as what hours are you going to operate, right? When are we going to be here for church? What are we going to have for the menu, right? And we don't think of them like that, but that's what he's ordained us to do. There's certain things that we have to follow. Now, as denominations, we have certain cultural things, cultural procedures that we follow, right? As Baptists, we believe in full immersion of baptism. We also believe in the Lord's in communion, Lord's Supper, and we believe certain other things that make up a Baptist church. It's different for the other denominations. That's what sets them apart, is those policy things. Now, what he's trying to, if you wanted to grow or mature in church, right? You wanted to start taking part. You're going to have to learn some of these I don't want to call them higher things, but more complex things. Just like an engineer, they have to learn math and all that type of stuff. And we're not talking about two plus two. They're talking about the Pythagorean theorem. They're talking about all these advanced concepts to be able to make sure that they're hitting their mark when they're developing their plans, and ultimately when they go and build it, when they go and complete their design. I pursue the way of your commands and you broaden my understanding. Now, Paul talks a little bit about this in Ephesians, and that's what the psalmist is trying to understand. He wants wisdom. He doesn't just want intelligence, which we can all be intellectual, right? We can all exercise intellect. What does that mean? Well, go and read a book. When we go and reread the Bible, we do get a level of understanding just by reading it, okay? For believers to exercise our faith, to be able to make us stronger in Him, we have to go and exercise our faith muscle. And that means getting that wisdom. And the only way we're going to get wisdom is through experience. And that's what he's asking for. That's what the psalmist is pointing to. Being obedient is going to allow us to have a greater chance at wisdom than not being obedient. Because those that haven't been obedient, and you have seen them up here preaching, you have seen them out there in the world, they might have changed their ways. You hear those illustrations, those sermons from good preachers, good pastors that talk about how they wish they'd known better. They wish they could have done something different in their lives. And so they wouldn't have had to go around in a big circle to come back to where they were, right? Sitting in church when they were 13, but then being out there in the world for a whole number of years, then be right back in church when they were 55 or 60 or whatever. That's exactly what he's talking about, the wisdom that is obtained by just being obedient. Paul talks about it in Ephesians, and he says in right at the beginning of the first chapter, he says a little prayer. He says, I pray that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, would give you a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of Him. I pray that the perception of your mind may be enlightened, so you may know what is the hope of His calling, what are the glorious riches of His inheritance among the saints, and what is the immeasurable greatness of His power to us who believe, according to the working of His vast strength. And again, he's talking about revelation, not Revelation the book. He's talking about things that you're going to be exposed to, and you having a good, obedient heart when you're exposed to them to be able to understand them. Instead, being out there in the world and making choices that, lead you down other paths instead of back to Him, right? And that's what the psalmist is saying. That's what he's illustrating here. He says, I'm weary from grief. I don't want to be this way anymore. I pursue I pursue you. It says, teach me, Lord, going on into the verse 33, the meaning of your statutes, and I will always keep them. Help me understand your instruction. I will obey it and follow it with all my heart. Help me stay on the path of your commands, for I take pleasure in it. And that's what he's talking about a little bit more thoroughly. He's going to be able to enjoy it more if he has wisdom about what he's doing, right? Not just the knowledge. And that's where it's tough for a lot of us. When we encounter something new, we know what it's about. And then we go back to the just simply building a Lego set, right? I said that, or I asked those who have tried to build a Lego, I don't know what you call them, Lego model without using the instructions. You're a little bit wiser after doing that, right? Because you probably didn't put it together correctly. You had a bunch of leftover pieces, and it probably fell apart a little bit easier. You're a little bit knowledgeable because you know you needed that instruction booklet. Now, in life, where that takes you is that you know you needed God, and you probably already know this, especially as kids. We're sitting here in church. We know this. We know this because we're preached about it, right? We're taught about it. We're even reminded from our parents, hey, you need to go to church. You need to do this. You need to do that. Well, what's the reason? The psalmist is exemplifying the reason, because when we get out there in the real world, we're going to be presented with options. We're going to be presented with other paths that we can go down. And he wants to be able to keep on the good path. He wants to be able to choose. He says, I have chosen the way of truth. He wants to be able to understand where God is taking him, and not just understand it, but see it with a good heart, right? Turn my heart, and then he explains that in 36. Turn my heart to your decrees and not to material gain. Turn my eyes from looking at what is worthless and give me life in your ways. Confirm what you said to your servant, for it produces reverence for you. Turn away from the disgrace I dread. Indeed, your judgments are good. How I long for your precepts. Give me life through your righteousness. So it's not just the fact that he wants to have a good life and be able to understand these things and be able to do good things. He wants to be able to be faithful and show other people as well. Especially as parents, when we do things, we want to not only honor our parents as the Bible commands, but we want to make sure that we carry a good name. And carrying that good name means that we want to be an example, right? We don't want to be out there doing crazy things and bringing dishonor or just even shame, right? We go out there and we act a fool sometimes. People are going to recognize who you are, and they're going to be like, well, that was that so-and-so's relatives. Well, that was that so-and-so's son or daughter or whatever. They should know better. They should know better. And we would agree with them in that time. We would probably agree with them. Yeah, we should have known better, but we chose the wrong path, right? We didn't keep God's word. We didn't stay obedient to him. And it goes all the way back to when Moses passed away, and Joshua had to finish out what Moses started, because Moses was actually told that he wouldn't see it if they had not listened to God, and they had not listened to the one who he had appointed to take up that mantle, so to speak, and take them into the promised land. They'd still be out there in the wilderness, right? They'd still be out there wandering around, figuring out what God is really wanting them to do. And that's the reason. And it was already a bad it was already a weird situation that they had to stay out there in the first place. But it was because their hearts weren't pure. They didn't want to follow God, right? So they had to get rid of that generation that was being a bad example. And that goes into a whole nother deal, but we just want to be obedient. The reason for that is because the psalmist is saying that, well, we will become wiser and we will choose better and we will want to follow him more. That's what he wants. At the end of the day, he goes a little bit more further into a little bit other areas before he wraps it up. But that's the point. There's a reason that we want to do better and we want to follow God and continue on, because it's gonna be better for us overall. Any questions? comments? Rude remarks? No? Okay. So there's and 119 is quite thorough, but moving through the different I guess sections, it's all about obedience and allowing us to be able to understand where God is taking us and letting our hearts grow more and more because of following Him and building that loyalty, building that faith. So, all right. Well, for those of you online, we're going to go ahead and go to a time of prayer. If you guys want to share your prayer request or even a praise that you guys have, let us know. Leave a comment, send us a message, Facebook message, whatever. Just let us know. We'll be sure to include that in our praises and our prayer requests. And we'll see you back here Sunday. Until next time.